I'm really excited about tonight. This is actually our first of many webinars that I'll be doing within the group. And tonight, what we're going to be talking about is income streams, how to pick out your first income stream. And before we kind of get into it, what I want to do, or my intention for this call, is for everybody to be able to leave this session with an idea of which pathway is best suited for them in terms of what type of income stream that you should maybe be thinking about. There's a lot of different income opportunities that we'll be talking about within, over the course of being together. But everything is, of course, not suited for everybody. It's definitely going to depend on your individual situation, the income that you're starting with, if you have money to invest into something, if you're bootstrapping it, all that good stuff. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of break down different models and kind of help you identify what may be best suited for you. So I have been able to pull up the chat, and I see the chat. Welcome, Annette Rose. I'm so happy that you made it, joining from Australia. That's fantastic. I'm so excited that you were able to make it. Cheston, okay, perfect. Who else we have? Okay, woohoo, yes. I'm so happy you guys are here. Everybody, if you could also put in the chat like where you were tuning in from, that would be great. I want to make this a bit interactive. Some of this presentation I will be presenting, but if you have questions along the way, definitely put them in the chat, and once everything is over, I'll go in and answer any questions that you guys have. So Cheston, oh, you're in Powder Springs. That's fantastic. Cheston is my husband, so I'm glad to hear he's in the same city and state that I am. So for those of you that haven't met Cheston, he will be on a session coming up soon. Well, hello, Michelle. There she is. Okay, wonderful. Yes, Powder Springs is very lovely. Thank you, Annette. And Tamara in Atlanta. Fantastic. Okay, well, I'm glad that you guys are all here. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, what we're going to be covering today, we already kind of introduced ourselves, welcoming you and saying who's in the room. But tonight, what we're going to be talking about is the retirement gap. What nobody is actually saying about what it actually takes to retire and retire comfortably, so you're not having to go and be a Walmart greeter nothing wrong with being a Walmart greeter. But, if you want to work, that's one thing, but having to work is a whole nother thing. So we're going to talk about what those real numbers actually look like so you have a better understanding. We're going to be talking about the retirement replace model, which is we're going to be talking about having income versus, we're going to be talking about the 4 income stream pathways. We're going to be talking about which one actually makes sense for where you're starting from. We're also going to talk about the 6-month rule, where commitment beats strategy. And then we're going to talk more about the community and what we've got going on in the community and what's coming ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So for those of you that may not know, and I know, we have one lovely guest that's tuning in from Australia, but here in the United States, there is a ticking time bomb on what we know as Social Security. From all the projections, it's said to be it's going to be depleted by 2032. And I know that, when I first looked at that, I was like, oh, that sounds like a while from now, but that's actually only 6 years from now. So, that should be an eye-opener for all of us, because again, if that fund is depleted, and chances are, there's a strong possibility that they'll take some steps to try to extend it a bit, but more than likely, by the time, depending on your age, there's a strong possibility that it can be totally depleted by the time that you're reaching retirement age. that's something to really look at and to consider. So if you're under 61 as of today, you'll be under the retirement age at in 2032. And of course that hits, that depletion hits before most of us can claim those benefits. If you're under 61 like myself, there's no guarantee that you'll receive anything. And that should be an eye opener for all of us. And your plan cannot be built on this type of foundation. I think a lot of us are so busy in our day to day, just, living life, that we're not taking into consideration that this is happening. We have to really start making plans and really being conscious of, what is going on so that we can make the necessary adjustments. So for those of you that are here, I'm glad that you're here and taking all of this to heart. So let's just say that the government does pull it off. They're able to save Social Security in some form or fashion. And it's still there for those of us that are under 61 today. Best case scenario, it exists when you retire. Ask yourself right now, in 6 to 15 years, can you live on $1,900 a month? That is the average Social Security benefit for most people that are full-time workers that have worked for 20 to 30 years and have paid into Social Security. I know for the majority of people right now, it's pretty impossible to live in the United States on $1,900 a month unless you have a paid off house, you have no debt, and you are very, 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 very minimalistic. So imagine that in 6 to 15 years. It's not a good thing to think about. Again, we know that healthcare costs will likely go up as you age. We like to, think that we'll be healthy, and I pray that we all are. But if something happens, that's another thing to consider. There is no universal healthcare here. So if healthcare costs are not covered, that's another consideration. Are you going to have the money that's necessary to take care of yourself? That's not even counting property taxes, utilities, food. And the number one thing to consider is this enough to actually retire with dignity. Now, a lot of us, and I know for myself and my family, I've seen this play out so many times. A lot of times what happens is, as people in the family get older, their children end up, taking care of them. They move in with the kids, with their children, and that's kind of the long-term plan. But again, that does put a financial strain on the family. So now a lot of times the seniors' children are now taking care of not only their own children, but their parents as well. And that's a huge financial strain. We don't want to put an unnecessary financial strain on our children if we don't have to. So that's something else to consider. So let me just tell you a little bit about some of the income streams and the income models that I run. And I kind of got into it, and I didn't really talk about myself or introduce myself. Again, I think I've met a lot of you on the session, but my name is Jennifer Bulgen. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, or just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm originally from Los Angeles. Just to give you a little brief background about me, my background is in real estate. I was a real estate agent many, many, many years ago, then was a loan officer and was in that industry until the big financial collapse of 2000. Actually, it hit a little early in California, so that hit in 2007. And when the market crashed, my income came crashing down with it, and it was a dramatic situation. I ended up being in tremendous financial straits, and that's actually what motivated me to move to Atlanta from California. And after that, having been an entrepreneur for many years, I ended up creating a credit business, grew that business, profitably for quite some time and then moved on from there. Saying all this to say, my background is as an entrepreneur, and I've had some really great highs within my career, and then I've had some tremendous lows financially, even having to file bankruptcy multiple times over the course of years just to try to maintain property, all kinds of financial turmoil. But saying all this to say that, there's a lot of great rewards from entrepreneurship, the freedom, the flexibility, that's always been a motivation for me. But one of the negative things about it is that as an entrepreneur or business owner, I'm not paying into Social Security. So that being said, I did early in my career, I had a YouTube job, but the vast majority of my professional career has been self-employed. So, looking at those numbers on the previous page, it's probably even less for me if I were to qualify for Social Security. But that's another story. Saying all that to say, over the past couple of years, me and my husband have been really talking about the desire to build income streams. Actually, the conversation came up heavily with him in his business that he was really wanted to be focused on recurring revenue. And at first I wasn't really conscious of that. As a business owner, I've just always, hustled and, sold things, made money, and then I sold things and made money. And, that's just how it went. But after, having some conversations with him, he really started making me ponder that the fact that, basically if we're not looking at our business in terms of producing recurring money that comes in every month, we just basically have a job with, the bad boss, me being that boss. So from there, we consciously made a choice to start focusing on building passive income and recurring income. He is a CFO slash tax professional slash accountant. I'm going to have him featured on a couple sessions, so you can share some of that wisdom on how to properly prepare yourself tax wise, so you're minimizing your taxation. But one of the things that we did about a little over a year ago was started a rental car business. And, a lot of people are familiar with setting up rental car businesses on sites like Turo, that type of thing. We ended up starting a private car rental, and it's been really, really good. Of course, there's been some learning pains and some hiccups along the way, but overall, it's been very good. Something that has paid us a nice passive income, trading minimal hours per week in terms of managing it. So that has been fantastic. One of the other streams that I have been doing for a number of years is that of a mobile notary and a notary signing agent. So for those of you that are not familiar with what a signing agent is, that's a terminology that generally speaks about someone who does loan signings, mortgage loan signings. So with mortgage loan signings specifically, as a mobile notary, your average signing is anywhere between $150 to $300 plus for a signing that generally takes about an hour. So that is a very nice side hustle or a little income stream that can pay very, very well if you decided to focus on it. So that's another income stream that I have. And then I have our credit business, which is helping individuals to increase their credit score. We offer trade lines, credit services, that type of thing. So I'm saying all this to say these are some of the models that I'm using actively to build income streams. I wanted to express that I am not positioning myself in any form or fashion as somebody who knows all the answers. I'm figuring it out as I go along as well. And I'm going to share my income models and how I've structured things so that hopefully, if it makes sense and it resonates, you can take advantage of that. But what we're doing within this community is calling in professionals with a variety of expertise in different areas to share their income models. And if it resonates and it makes sense for where you are in your life, then I invite you to implement that as well. So that's just a little bit about me and what we are up to within this community. So I want to just share this number because I've been kind of blown away by this, and I realized that this is something that a lot of people are not conscious of. Financial advisors say that you need at least $1.5 to $2 million saved and invested in order to sustain a $60,000 to $80,000 per year income in retirement without running out of money. So this is something that I think maybe catch some people by surprise. I don't know. You can comment in the chat if you knew this or if this is news to you. But this also implements what they call the 4% rule, which is basically saying that you should only withdraw about 4%, sorry, of your savings each and every year in order to make sure that that money does not run out. So that's how they come up with that number. The assumption again is that your portfolio grows approximately 10% every year on average. One thing to also note here is that, as we all know, the market goes up, it goes down, and depending on when you decide to retire or stop working, that there's no guarantee that, it's going to average out that it's 10% each year. So that's something else to ponder and keep in mind. The gap that most people face is that the average American that's nearing retirement has saved less than $200,000. And so if that's the case, then using the 4% rule so that you don't run out of money, you can just imagine what that boils down to every year that you can actually draw on. So it's really kind of sobering. And the reality check is that most people will never reach $1.5 to $2 million through their savings alone. That's not like me being pessimistic. That's actually just the math. So I wanted to share this because I think a lot of times we are so busy being busy. We're so busy working, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our families, trying to eat healthy, exercise, just live life and be good people, that we're not really aware of how much not only how much money that we really need to have saved and invested, but just the reality that we are up against in the event that we don't take decisive action to take care of ourselves in that regard. So let's go ahead. So here on this page, I kind of break down the numbers so you can get an idea if you're on track for retirement. So if you are 40 years old today, you're looking to retire by 67, which, some of us may want to retire a little earlier than that, but let's just say 67. By 40, you need to have between $114,000 to $153,000 saved right now. That gives you 27 years to grow your money, and assuming an average 10% return each year, then you would be on track. The thing about these numbers to know is that this also assumes that there's not any dramatic market crash, which we know is something that is possible. So this is also kind of best case scenario. By age 40, you need to have saved between $184,000 to $246,000 in order to be on track. By 50, you need to have saved $297,000 to $396,000 in order to be on track. By 55, you need to have saved 478,000 to 637,000 in order to be on track. By 60, you need to have saved between 770,000 to 1,026,000 in order to be on track. And then by 67, ideally, you would have $1.52 million in order to retire on approximately $60,000 to $80,000 per year. So I ask you in the chat, how many of you all feel prepared? Are you on track? Are you on track for retirement? Or is this kind of catching you by surprise and you weren't really aware that these were the actual numbers? I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll talk more about that. Okay. Yeah, I think most people are not really aware that those are the numbers. So again, a little bit why I created this community. Again, I've been an entrepreneur since 2003. As I mentioned, I've had successful businesses and I've had some real financial loss, like I mentioned to you just a while ago. I did many of the right things and still have felt the gap and not having adequate saving and investment as well. So I've been a licensed notary since 2005. Currently have a rental car business with my husband. I have a credit services business, and I've built each one intentionally. And as I mentioned, my husband, Cheston, he actually brings accounting, CFO, and tax strategy expertise to everything that we personally do. And that's something that I wanted to bring to this community as well, because taxation, tax planning is extremely important, making sure that you're making strategic decisions based on minimizing your taxes. So again, why this community exists, the advice gap is real. What I have found is that, after doing a lot of research, is that a lot of the information online is save, 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 invest, invest, invest. And if you're behind, you need to save more. But no one's talking about how to make that happen when you are already working full time, you're already exhausted, you're working 40 plus hours a week, you have children, you've got a spouse, you've got, you're just trying to take care of yourself, exercise, eat healthy, all these things, but then they're telling you that you need to save and invest more, and you're barely feeling like you're making it now. So a lot of the information that I was finding online was, not necessarily realistic for what people's lives are. And so I wanted to provide an avenue that would give people feedback on some different alternative means to subsidize their income so that they can actively invest and they can ideally replace the income that they don't have, the savings that they don't have, with active income streams. So that's the idea of one of the ideas of why this community exists. What I am going to be sharing with you is my income models in terms of the car rental business, the mobile notary business, as well as a credit business. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you is, what I've actually built. And I'm also going to be pulling in individuals, like I mentioned, who have successfully built their own income streams, and they're going to share those models with you as well. We have some investment strategists in terms of like how to do trading, that type of thing. We're going to be pulling in as well. So I'm really excited of some of the content we're going to be sharing over the next couple weeks. And, all of this can be really overwhelming, so you shouldn't have to figure this out alone. This is a community about like-minded people coming together to share resources, share information, share tools to help you to, achieve your income goals and not feel overwhelmed and by yourself in the process. So that's what that is. Okay. So, a different question that changes everything. The old question is, do I have enough money saved? With that, you're racing against a clock and you're hoping that, the money that you do have is going to last. Now, the new question that we're asking is, could I afford my life if income just kept showing up? We want to focus on building streams that keep generating money, and with that, you're actually going to get freedom without the countdown. You're not going to feel up against the wire that you have to have, $1 million saved and invested in the next couple years in order to be on track. If you're focused on building income streams, then you know that this money is going to pay you month in and month out, and you'll be able to fund your life and your lifestyle without the stress and the overwhelm. So this does not mean that you're ignoring your savings. It just means that you're going to stop betting everything on your savings alone. Oh, oops. So let's focus on the 4 income pathways. I've actually put together 4 income pathways that I'm breaking down within the community, and let's talk about each one. So the first income stream pathway is the foundation fast track. With the foundation fast track, this is if you are somebody who has debt, you have like really over $40,000 worth of debt. You actually, if that's the case, then you more than likely need income quickly. You need to focus on getting your debt down. A lot of people are not, well, I think there's a lot of people that talk about, debt-free lifestyle, but the reality is, majority of people are paying a significant amount of interest. So let's just say your investments are returning 10% per year, but your credit cards are 20, 25, 30% interest every year. So if you're carrying a balance of, let's just say $40,000 and your interest is 20%, that's you're losing money every single year. So the foundation fast track is more so about creating income as fast as possible with the focus of paying down debt as much as possible and as fast as possible. So that is the foundation fast track. With this particular income stream pathway, you're going to be focused on getting to an additional $500 to $2,000 a month within the next 90 days. With that money, you want to focus more so on paying down debt before we even get started with using it for investments. So that's the foundation fast track. The side hustle to scale. This is where you use your skills and expertise to monetize. This is perfect for people who have between 5 to 10 hours extra a week to focus on building an income stream. With this side hustle to scale, this basically means, if you are somebody who has a certain skill set, a certain knowledge, you may be able to get into consulting. You may be able to use your skill set to sell certain products and or services. We'll talk more about that, but that's what side hustle to scale is all about. The next one is asset-based income. This is where you put your assets to work and you earn while you sleep. So in this case, an example of that would be like the car rental business. In this situation, vehicles are an asset that is returning money without us having to actively work or trade our time in order for us to make money off of it. Another example of that would be like an Airbnb, equipment rentals, like, party rentals, like tables, chairs, or like trailers, that type of thing. All of those would be assets that you can rent out and would pay you an income passively. So that's what asset-based income structure is. And then the next structure is the business building. This is where you build a brand or service-based business, and this has a bigger ceiling. So we'll go into a little bit more depth about these different income streams, but just based on what I shared with you, which one do you think may be more suited to where you're at right now? I'd love to hear from you if you want to share in the chat. Let me see if I can open it up. Okay. Business building and asset base. Yes, definitely. I'm just reading the comments. Okay, foundation fast track. Definitely. Okay. That sounds good. We will keep on going. So I explained a little bit on the previous page, but this will give you some more examples of what that can look like. Actually, hold on. Okay, boom. So income stream examples in this pathway, the foundation fast track. This is perfect for people, like I said, who have debt. They have debt. They may not have a whole ton of savings, and they definitely need income as soon as possible. So income stream examples in this pathway would be the mobile notary, signing agent. With that, you can actually get your mobile notary license. In most states, some states they don't even have a test for you to get certified, but some they do. It's something that you can study and take within less than a week. So it's not difficult to get licensed. As far as becoming a signing agent, that does require a little bit more training, so you're familiar with the types of documents. But we will be doing a training on that within the community as well. So if that is of interest to you, let me know, and I will make sure that we do a training on how to do loan signings. So that is something that is available to you. Another income stream in this pathway is credit services, trade lines. That's actually one of the businesses that I have. So I help others with their credit, helping them. I actively previously was doing credit restoration. Nowadays, I have guides that I offer that show people exactly how to clean up their own credit. I also offer what's called credit trade lines, which is basically authorized user accounts that you can piggyback and help boost your credit score. These are accounts that are really, really helpful for people who are looking to get business funding. They may be looking to purchase a home, looking to purchase a car, and they need an additional boost to their credit score. So that is definitely a very lucrative opportunity as well. Another income stream in this pathway is reselling, or AKA arbitrage. One of the things that a lot of people forget is that you probably, if you look around your house, you probably have plenty of things in your house that you are not using. You may have, old clothes, you may have, computer equipment, furniture, all kinds of stuff. You can literally, even right now, tonight, go on Facebook Marketplace and list those things and make some money. There's people that will happily purchase your items, and this is money that's just sitting around there. So something to consider, that you can start reselling your own items, or actively look for distributors and get items to resell as well. Some people do stuff like they'll go to the Salvation Army, they'll go to Goodwill and find deals and then actively list those on sites like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and just flip it for additional money. So that's something to consider. Another income stream in this pathway is delivery or gig work. So that would be like DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, that type of thing, Instacart. Those are all very fast income streams that you can, get set up with very quickly, and they could pay you starting pretty fast. So side hustle to scale, let's talk about that. Income streams in this pathway could be consulting or coaching. You could monetize your expertise, package your knowledge. A lot of us have a lot of knowledge. everybody on this call and everybody in this community is 40 plus. In our 40 plus years, we definitely have certain knowledge, and sometimes we discount that and don't consider, that it can be valuable to people. So whatever that expertise or knowledge that you have, it may be professional knowledge, it may be, a skill set. Maybe you're, really good at, playing an instrument, playing the piano. Maybe you're a great coach, something to consider. This is something that you can monetize and create an income from. Another thing, it would be freelancing contract work. So accounting, if your skill set is in that area, HR, tech, writing, design, all of those things are in demand. So something else to consider. Teaching, tutoring, you could do that online. There's a lot of sites that will pay you to tutor students, and a lot of them don't necessarily require any teaching credential. And some of them do not even require bachelor's degrees. Something to look at as well. You can tutor for English, you can tutor different subject matters, and a lot of them earn between $50 to $150 per hour. So if you have a certain amount of hours per week, that could definitely add up. Another income stream, virtual assistant, being an administrative assistant, doing social media, email management. All of that is very easy to start. So these are some of the side hustle to scale income streams. And this is really good if you have about at least 5 to 10 hours per week. Now let's talk about the asset-based income. So income streams in this pathway would be, like we talked about, the rental car, doing it either privately, like how me and my husband do it, or via Turo. So that's something that you can look at. You could do equipment rental, like trailers, tools, cameras, party supplies. All of these are in high demand and low effort. Now, one of the opportunities that I got present to, my husband actually used to be a truck driver. And one of the things that he mentioned to me was that a lot of truck drivers do not have trailers that they own themselves, and they rent those trailers to transport goods on the road. So for those of you that are not familiar with the trailer, it's like the big long box thing that attaches to the truck and transport the items. So people will rent those trailers for what? Cheston, you might want to chime in on this. I think from what I saw, it was between $800 to $1,000+ a month. And to buy one of those is about what, actually, I'm going to let you comment on that, because I don't want to give totally crazy, but I know that it was a stream that I wasn't familiar with before. So about $800 a month that you can make off of that. And how much do these trailers cost to purchase? If you could chime in on that. Because I believe from what I was seeing before that they're about 5,000 to 7,000 or so, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So about 7 to 10. Okay, that's still good. So if you consider, I think a lot of times people think about, when they start thinking about passive income, they automatically go to real estate. But a lot of people don't realize that your average real estate investor does not make $800 a month. They're investing a lot of money. They're putting their credit on the line. They're going into debt, a couple $100,000 a lot of times. And the average real estate investor is happy to make between $300 to $500 per month. So when you can make $800 plus per month on something that you purchase for $7,000 to $10,000, that is a great return, and something that for you to consider. Another income stream on this pathway would be room and space rentals, Airbnbs, furnished finder, storage units, parking. They may be assets that you already own. I think many of you may not be familiar. There's actually sites where you can rent out your garage. If you have garage storage, there are sites where people will actually pay you a monthly fee, like you're an independent storage unit, to store things in your house, in your garage, or if you have storage at your house, they'll pay you a monthly fee. So that's passive income for something that you already have. You already have a home, you already have this space. Why not make use of it? Same way with parking. If you have space at your home for maybe you have acreage, you can rent that out. Parking for a lot of times trucks, these 18 wheelers, like I mentioned, they need parking. When they are off of the road, they need a place to store their vehicle. So that's another very lucrative opportunity as well. Vending machines. These are semi-passive once placed, and the location is the key variable. So those are some examples of asset-based income opportunities. I think I missed a page. Go back. Was it asset-based? What was it? I'm sorry. Okay. Nope, that was it. So today's decision that you have is to choose your pathway. There are these different options. You don't need to know your exact income stream yet, but I want you to get an idea. Hopefully through this conversation, you've got an idea of which pathway makes the most sense based on where you're at. So are you foundation fast track? Do you have debt and you need income quickly? Are you side hustle to scale? You have some skills that you can package and monetize? Are you asset-based income? You may have a little capital that you can deploy into getting some assets that can make you some more passive income. Or are you ready for business building? Are you looking at something bigger and long term? So I know we said earlier a little bit what you thought you may be. Based on this conversation, has any of that changed, or are you getting some ideas of what things may be available? I'm looking at Annette's comment. In Australia, if you're in a high demand parking area, you can rent out your driveway for people to park in while they're at work. Yes, definitely. That is, sometimes there's a lot of these opportunities that are right in front of us that we're not actively thinking about, but that's definitely a very, very strong passive income opportunity. What I want to alert you to, you guys are coming in to this community just as we are getting started. Is so much. I actually drug my feet and procrastinated opening up this community because I wanted everything to be in place. I want everything to be perfect. I wanted all the resources to be available. And then a girlfriend of mine who's actually, I think, still on the call, and thank you for that, Michelle. She reminded me, I don't know if she consciously knew that she was doing it at the time, but just how much people really need support in this area. There's so many people that are they're not actively prepared for retirement. They're not actively prepared for that next stage of life income wise, and they need that support. And so it kind of pushed me off the ledge, and I stopped figuring that I have to have everything perfect before I released everything. So the community is still being built out. There is a lot of resources that are actively in there right now. And there's some videos and some supporting documentation that I'm still adding. But when you go into the classroom, you will see that there are different pathways that are built in. I actually even put together a questionnaire that is asking you some specific questions to help you decide which pathway is most suited for where you are at. If you're not really clear on which one would make the most sense for you, if you take that questionnaire, it's going to actually give you a suggestion based on where you're at. So that is currently in the classroom. And there is a lot of information on these different pathways as well. And I'll be putting together more supporting documentation in there. So make sure that you check that out and stay tuned, because it will be building quite a bit over the next couple of weeks. So I'm not going to go over the scoring and all of that, because that is something that is actually in the questionnaire that is in the community. So if you are still kind of undecided about which pathway makes the most sense for you, then I encourage you to go into the community and check that out, and you'll see the questionnaire and you'll be able to take that and it'll help guide you through to that stage. But what I do want to let you know is that you really want to commit to one income stream for 6 months. Now, if you're like me by any stretch, then you may have ADHD, in the sense that everything you're thinking, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can blah, 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 I can do all these different things, which you can. However, when you bite off a whole bunch of different opportunities, you're not necessarily giving the attention and the time that's needed in order to grow and actually get the result that you're looking for. So the 6-month rule is that you need to pick one income stream and commit to it for a minimum of 6 months. Now, what I want you to understand is that, when you are building anything, it's going to take some time. There's like a certain amount of inertia that you need. It's kind of similar. I've heard the analogy of being like a rocket ship. There's like this tremendous inertia and so much energy that needs to take place in order for a rocket ship to launch off. And it seems that is going really, really, really slow until it gets to a certain altitude, and then it just goes. That's how your business and how putting together income streams are. It's gonna look like nothing's happening. It's gonna look slow. You're gonna have the urge to quit, but you are gonna want to continue. So month 1, it's going to look bad. Everything is slow. I need you to resist the urge to quit. Month 3, it still might look a little mediocre. You can see the path. It may not be producing what you may want it to yet at that point, but I want you to not switch or don't quit. And by month 6, this is where you will actually see what it can do. If you stay committed and you stay focused, you will see the result. I would say at least a good 6 months is what you need to give it in order to get there. So what I want to share with you, and this is all being built out, and I want to let you know, I wanted to expose this to you because over the next 2 weeks, we will have all the information finalized within the community. But right now, everything is, once we get up to 50 members within the community, we are switching from a free tier. There's not going to be any free tier anymore. And we're going to a paid model. So that being said, if you are in the community and you have joined for free, congratulations, you are free forever. However, there are some perks that are going to be within the community if you were to upgrade. So as a premium member, right now you can join that for $7 per month. With that, you're going to get actual course training on these different income streams. Now, you can join as a free member, join any of these trainings and attend it live and get the information. However, the actual replays and the course materials are only going to be available for the premium members. So if you know that you're going to want those resources, you're going to want that information, I encourage you to join right now because it is only $7 per month, and we are going up. After we hit 50 members, it's going to go up exponentially about every 25 members that join from there. So with premium, you're going to get the full course library with replays. You're going to get weekly accountability check-ins, downloadable tools and guides, all workshop materials. There's a lot more that is entailed with that. If you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. But definitely, it will be well worth your investment. Now, if you are really looking to kick things into high gear, you can also join as a VIP member. With that, it's going to be $97 a month right now. And with that, you will be able to get a monthly one-on-one session with me. So if any of the models that I've shared with you resonate with you and hey, I want to start, a credit business, or I want to start a rental car business, and you want one-on-one help, you can actually do that with VIP for only $97 a month. You're actually also going to get some access to tax strategy training, which Cheston is going to be doing. So that replay and all that information will be available and accessible to VIP members. One of the things that you're going to find if you are running a business is that you're going to need a CRM to organize yourself, to do social media, to do all that good stuff. If you're not familiar with what a CRM is, we'll describe that in another training. But anyway, it's actually called a customer relationship manager. That is actually going to be included in VIP, which, if you know anything about Go High Level, it actually retails for $97 a month by itself. So it's very, very valuable. You can create websites, email campaigns, text message campaigns, all kinds of stuff with that platform. And so that's included with your $97 VIP membership. And it also includes everything in premium. Something to know and keep in mind if that resonates with you. And what I want to leave you with tonight is that your one action item is to post in the community. If you have identified which pathway resonates with you and what makes the most sense for you, go ahead and post in the community. I chose whatever pathway, and here's why it fits where I am right now. And so just explain in the post why you decided to choose that pathway. And I'll be checking that out and seeing what I can do to support and assist you along that path. So we are just about at an hour, and I want to let everybody know I really appreciate you joining me on this session. I'm going to go in the chat, and if you guys have any comments, questions, or feedback, we're going to do that for the next couple of minutes. But if you don't, I'm going to say we are all complete, and you can exit the session if you don't have any questions or need any support. So I'm going to go into the chat right now and see our comments. Let's see. So Annette, you love the 6-month rule. Instant gratification is a trap in so many ways. Yes, definitely. Okay. How do you join for the $7 a month? Yeah, let me actually pull that up. There is a link, school.com. I will actually drop that in the chat. You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it and you got value from that. There is the link for the different plans, so you could take a look at that. Let's see, what other comments do we have? Kate, I'm glad that you got a lot of value out of this. Let's see, what other comments do we have? You're welcome. Annette, she side hustled to scale plus asset base with Airbnb on our home. Okay, wonderful. Kate, I've also seen people rent out their homes for a week or two if they live in an area with large events take place. Yes, definitely. Cheston and I actually have a friend who has a lovely home. Actually, he has a farm with a beautiful home, and he rents it out to movie studios, which is extremely lucrative if you are familiar with that. They pay really, really well, and they clean up and they take care of your house and do everything, and it's pretty cool. Your place can be in a movie. Okay, I think we answered most of those questions. If you have anything else, feel free to drop it in the chat. But again, thank you guys for joining, and I look forward to connecting with every single one of you. You have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.